I grew up in a small town in Canada, small little town called Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Okay, so when I was born, I believe the population was 5,000 people. And I think today the population is still 5,000 people. So it's this beautiful little town. I think there's 4 traffic lights in the town, if I'm not mistaken. It was a big deal when McDonald's showed up. We're like, well, we're becoming a city, like we're getting on the map here. And so I had a small graduating class. There were 63 of us in the class, and you can imagine with a small class like that, everybody knew each other really well. I mean, it's a great, tight community. So many fond memories growing up in Humboldt, and just so many great friends in Humboldt. Well, Jared Bednar years ago kind of wowed everybody. I mean, he grew up as a hockey player. He grew up dreaming to be a Humboldt Bronco. He became a Bronco. Then he played hockey in the East Coast Hockey League. And fast forward the story, I mean, he became a head coach in the East Coast Hockey League, became a head coach in the American Hockey League, won championships in both of those leagues. And 6 years ago, he got a call from Joe Sakic to become the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche. So kind of a big deal. I remember everybody's like, whoa, Jared is head coach of the Colorado Avalanche. This is awesome. Only downside is that first year as a head coach, they had a miserable season. I think it was the worst season that the Avs have ever had. 22 wins, 56 losses, and 4 ties. So probably not the start that he wanted, but hey, the door was open and Jared took advantage of the opportunity in front of him. The next 5 years, he took the Avalanche to the playoffs every year. And this last year, man, they won the Stanley Cup. It was so awesome. I want to say the community of Humboldt was just glued to the TV set, rooting. We all became Avalanche fans. I mean, obviously I didn't grow up an Avalanche fan, but we're all rooting for Jared. And I remember anticipating when he finally got that cup and he hoisted it, he lifted it up, looked like he was going to cry. I was just filled with so much emotion and just such a huge achievement for Jared. And we were just all so proud of him. So that was pretty cool. Now, every year, most of us come back to Humboldt, unfortunately, due to a tragedy that happened. When we think of April 6th, I think it's kind of like how the rest of the world thinks of September 11th. I mean, like, oh yeah, I remember where I was September 11th. Well, I remember where I was on April 6th, 2018. There was a tragic bus accident. The Humboldt Broncos, the hockey club in our little town, bus accident, 29 people aboard that bus, 16 people lost their lives, 13 people injured and some severely injured. I mean, it was just a horrible situation. And so the town was grieving. Well, Jared did something about it. I mean, what can I do? And he started the Humboldt Broncos Memorial Golf Tournament that every year the families will come together. So like on every hole, you'll talk to family members of the kids that were on that bus. I mean, just such a heartbreaking moment. I guess what's cool, I've got this little shot glass here, Shots for Shats. So it's pretty cool when you get to talk to the families and they get to share stories. And oh yeah, this was Logan's favorite drink, and everybody takes a shot for Shats kind of thing. So, I mean, we all just try to come together and grieve and just be there with each other. And of course, again, Jared wanted to do something for the families and something for the hockey club. And so we just all have so much respect for him for doing that. And so we got together this last event, and Jared was inducted into the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League Hall of Fame. Obviously, after winning a Stanley Cup as a head coach in the NHL, like, hey, we're going to induct you into the Hall of Fame. And this video I'm going to show you here, I think this says a lot about Jared and his humility and just kind of the kind of guy he is.
You don't get to achieve any goal in life without a lot of help and support from people around you, and Mom, Dad, love you guys, appreciate it. Yeah. So I feel like this is becoming my thing now. When I have to get up and speak, that I just start crying. Whatever, the parade and all that, if anyone's seen it. But regardless, I can't hide the emotion. I'm proud of it. But I played. I'm not going to bore you with my playing stories, that's for sure, because wheel around the net and go out off the glass isn't very exciting, or skate it to the red line and dump it in isn't either. So, I guess most of my success has come as a coach, which is great. It's very rewarding, and I love doing it. And learning from players that I played with, like those guys that I mentioned, and other guys in the room, and from the players that I've coached, has been a fantastic experience for me. But the best, in my career, I was looking it up. I tried to look it up, but it took us 16 websites to find my stats, and I was like, these got to be wrong. This can't be accurate. I only had 8 points one year, and maybe 15 or 16 the next. I can't remember. So I know I'm not standing up here because of my playing career with the Broncos. The best thing that, they always say, once a Bronco, always a Bronco. And the best thing I've ever done for the Broncos, or even related to this organization, is teaming up with Lori and Brian to put on this event. I really am proud of it. I love doing it. And I want to thank all of you for coming and supporting the way you have over the last 5 years. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So that's our buddy Jared. Small town boy, tons of gratitude, especially to his parents, for supporting him, and, had these dreams to play as a Bronco. And then, obviously he's done so well. He's worked so hard, but, the best thing about Jared, he remembers his roots. He's still very humble, has a ton of humility, and we're just all real proud of what he's done. And we're proud of the town of Humboldt, And so I asked Jared, I'm like, hey, listen, we've got reps in Denver that are huge fans of the Avalanche. They were there for the parade with you. And could you send them a little video? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, we're all curious on what it takes to be successful. And you're succeeding at the highest level in the NHL as a head coach. I mean, what does it take to create a winning team? So he put together this video, and a bunch of people saw that video, and they said, hey, you should make a little hep huddle and maybe dissect that video a little bit. I mean, he puts together 4 key components on what it takes to build a successful team. Now, I asked Jared as well, too. I mean, I really spent a lot of time preparing for this. I'm like, hey, do you have any book recommendations? And without hesitation, and I never heard of this book until Jared brought it up, Raise Your Game by Alan Stein Jr. He says, there's some books that you just read and you really identify with. Well, he read this book. He gave it to all the key people in the organization this last year, and look what they accomplished. So I'm not saying that this book is the reason that the Avalanche won, but Jared got my curiosity. I read the book. I could tell that the author certainly did a ton of homework. So he's done an amazing job. I decided to buy 14 copies of this book and send them to my inner circle. I'm like, hey, this book did wonders for the Avalanche. Maybe it's going to do wonders for our organization. So I just want to take these 4 key components that Jared gives us in this video and just break down some of the learnings from this book.
Some key components to being able to have success as a team. And for me, I guess as the coach, it's my job to create the vision of our team and to create the culture of our team. And the players have a high responsibility when it comes to the passion in which they play and the discipline in which they play. So a couple key components for me. Number one is our belief system, that we believe in what we're doing, that we believe in the coaches, that we believe in the players, in each other, essentially, believe in our mission, in our culture, and then that we believe in the standards in which we've set as a group in order to have success and keep working to raise those standards as the season goes along. So we're at our best come playoff time. Creating that buy-in for me is really important, and there's a bunch of different ways that we do it. For the sake of today, I'll just leave it short.
Now, I find this first component fascinating, right? So if you're coaching Little League, right? I'm a coach of Little League baseball, okay? Laguna Niguel Little League. And so obviously as a coach, I want to instill confidence and show the players that I believe in them. And so, that makes a lot of sense, obviously, with little kids. But, when I'm talking to Jared about what it's like in his job and what he does, coaching these multi-millionaires. These are, I think Nathan McKinnon just signed for something like $100 million over the next 8 years or something like that. I mean, these are the players that you're coaching, and you spend so much time getting these guys to believe in themselves and believe in the organization and believe in the mission. You know, I find that fascinating. I think it makes us all pause, like, look at the importance of developing confidence and belief in people, that even at the highest level, this is the first point that Jared makes, is really fostering that belief system. I mean, I just find that fascinating. So from the book, okay, this is what Alan Stein Jr. says: good teams create buy-in, great teams create believe in. That's a little tagline I think I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I find that interesting. He says, earned confidence is the result of knowing yourself, caring about what you do, and committing to getting better. There is nothing more damaging than false confidence, and nothing more powerful than properly grounded confidence. Love that. And last point here from Alan Stein Jr. from my notes is, if a leader doesn't give the group something to believe in, the only ones left will be those who believe in nothing. Try making a team out of that. So, belief system.
The second one is you have to be unselfish. I mean, this is it for us. We're in a team sport, a team game, and everyone has a specific role to play on our team. They know what those roles are, and they're held to a very high standard of excellence when it comes to the role that they play. And other players on the team and other members of the team, they all understand what everyone's role is, and help to try and keep those standards high when it comes to each individual of our group. And everyone has to be unselfish. They understand that there'll be nights and times during the year where we're going to have to rely on somebody else, and that they are all accepting of that, and doing whatever it takes for our team to win hockey games in our scenario. Okay.
Unselfishness and everybody knowing each other's role. Talk about an important element of building a successful team. You know, in the book, I found something really fascinating. He talked about Phil Jackson would run practices where players weren't allowed to talk to each other. Okay, so just imagine just silence, and all you can hear is the dribbling of a basketball. And if people did talk, if like, hey, cut to the hole. If you say something, you got to go run some crazy drills. So imagine running a long practice where there's zero communication. But he wanted to show the players how difficult of a sport basketball is if you don't communicate. And everybody'd walk away from that exercise knowing, crystal clear how important it is to know everybody's role, where everybody is on the court, and knowing how to properly communicate. So in our particular business, I mean, talk about being unselfish. If you're trying to build a crew, it's one thing to do sales. It's another thing like, listen, I want to build an army here. Well, if it's all about you, you're going to have a heck of a time getting buy-in, or as the book says, getting believe in for your promotion. It's a collective we. It's a tribe winning. That promotion to management is a we thing, not a you thing. It's a we thing where we're going to build a crew, we're going to get promoted, and then from there, these people are going to get pieced off. Everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. I think about a game changer in our business as well, too. I mean, we hit a certain benchmark collectively as an organization, and there's this $1 million bonus for all consultants. I mean, talk about a we thing where, hey, we want to see this business rise together, and the ships all rise with the tide, and we're all getting pieced off with this. Such an important element to be unselfish, to look out for the betterment of the team. Kind of like the New York Yankees, philosophy. There's no names on the back of the jerseys. I mean, the name on the back isn't important. What's important is the name on the front, the Yankees. I mean, the collective team winning. It's not by fluke, I believe, that the New York Yankees are the winningest team in baseball history. It's all about that team winning and being an unselfish player.
And the third one, really important to me, is the passion in which we play. This is an area where I think we've really excelled and gotten better over the last few years. That passion and character of our team, that we are going to be highly competitive. We're going to be very determined in the way we play and sticking to the identity of our team, and that we play with a lot of heart, that we want it more than our opponent, that it's something that we talk about in order to have success and achieve our goal as a group, that we're going to have that heart and passion, determination, competitiveness on a daily basis. So when we get to the key times of the year that we are playing our best and we're very difficult to play against, that we are highly competitive.
Playing with passion. I mean, so many times, Jared in the press conferences would talk about his players getting to the loose pucks, and he always put so much emphasis, it seemed, as a fan watching, on like, why is that part so important? Like every shift, like you give it your best, you give it your passion to get to that loose puck. And so, obviously that paid off. And there's a few things, that I want to say from this particular book. And if I'm saying this word wrong, I apologize to all the Greeks out there watching it, but there's a Greek word meraki. I might be saying it wrong, but I believe it's pronounced meraki. Greek word that means to do something with passion, from the heart, with absolute devotion and undivided attention. Put yourself in what you do. So when I read that, it made me think, hey, Jamie, what's your meraki like? Are you giving, like whatever the task is that you're doing, are you giving it your heart? Are you putting yourself in what you do? So that's interesting. And then some nerdy stuff here with basketball. Love this stuff. You can tell, Alan Stein Jr. did his homework before he wrote this book. Statistics show that basketball teams that are down by 1 at the half win more often than teams that are up by 1. Interesting. The team that is down by 1 has that extra motivation that comes from being down. So maybe that can be a good thing, when we're down a little bit. We all have our ups and downs, but you're down, that could be that extra little gear you can kick it into. So I thought that was interesting. A little extra passion shows up when you're down. And I thought this was really interesting, a little study on touches. In 2004, Steve Nash led the league in assists and touches. What does touches mean? So he was an MVP that year in 2004. Berkeley kept track that year in a formal study. Is there a correlation between showing enthusiasm and winning? Nash averaged 239 touches. Okay? Averaged 239 touches. Touches were high fives, pats on the back, just physically touching players 239 times, and led in assists, MVP that year. Showing enthusiasm, showing passion to the game, to the sport, to the vocation that you have.
And then the last thing that I will mix in there, obviously you can't win without the talent. So the skill and speed and confidence in which our team plays, it takes a certain level of talent. And you have to, for us in our sport, getting through the regular season is a long grind, and so is the playoffs. So being very prepared for our games in our playoff series, and then performing our best at key times. You can have a really good group, a really good team, but in order to win as a team and to be a championship team, you definitely have to perform at your best at key times. And for us, that's the playoffs. Hopefully that helps. Good talking to all you guys. Take care.
And the last one here, you need the talent. No doubt. You can have all the motivation in the world, but at the end of the day, there's got to be some skill. So what does it take to get the skill? I mean, you could read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, in chapter 1. They talk about the 10,000 hour rule. I mean, at 10,000 hours, you become an expert. No matter what it is that you're doing, you got to put in the time, right? You put in the time, you become an expert. So I took this away from the book, again, Raising Your Game. Self-awareness is both the highest predictor of performance as well as the least utilized criteria. Interesting, self-awareness. Right? So if you're trying to get the talent, if you're trying to get the skill, it starts with just know thyself, right? And then he gives a formula for building confidence. He says self-awareness plus passion, back to Jared's third point, plus discipline plus coachability equals confidence. And that confidence, right? If you're good at something and you know you're good at something, I mean, you can't help but fine-tune the skill. So if the skill that you're looking for is I want to get competent, I want to get really good in sales, I want to get really good at team building, I want to get really good at recruiting. It's going to take some time, it's going to take some self-awareness, and it's going to take some confidence. So, Jared, I really appreciate you putting together that video for us. Again, we're all real proud of you. I hope you guys got something great from this. Again, 4 key takeaways, 4 key components in building successful teams. I hope you guys enjoyed.